Are you ready? Let's go. Right. Okay, it's after 9 o'clock. Let's get stuck in, shall we? In the last one you said copious amounts of times in the comments box, why don't I use these bits that I locked off the radiator brackets to make the brackets to hang the belly pan from. Yep, good thinking. I like you. You all think like me. I love that. That's what I love about this project. Great minds think alike. Now, before I can start faffing about with this and making more interesting panelage, I've got to mount that on the bike. It's got to be hung. It's got to be hung on the bike first. It's got to be there solid. And you said use these. What about using them? I guess what you mean is lock that bit off and just use that bit, perhaps like that, perhaps weld it onto the bar, and then you can just put a bolt through. Am I right? Is that what you meant? I think so. I'm going to do that, yes, but I'm not going to use them. The main reason is they're a bit wink. That's a bit 2mm thick, weedy, and that's a weedy little captive nut, and I don't like the way it's a bit crap, the way it's welded on. And also, that was only really designed to hang a plastic panel. I'm going to use that because it's beef. And I can weld a bigger nut on the back of it more properly, so it's a bit more permanent, and I can make a better job of it, and that will be a better mount, and a better mount is good. The other thing I'm going to try and do today is use these, because these use these. They kind of feed into there with a little metal sleeve, and that will rubber mount the thing, the belly pan, and I kind of like the idea. Rubber mount it because it isolates any vibration, and at the same time it's just a cool way to do it. It's good fabrication. It's cool. If you're going to mount something to a bike that's a steel panel, a metal, a sheet metal panel, especially if you're mounting it fundamentally to an engine, the engine's the biggest source of vibration on the bike, so ultimately if you can isolate any vibration from the sheet metal, then you protect it from cracking in the future. It's kind of long-term thinking. So today, just a little bit of thinking. Got 2 brackets to make, that's all. This is a slow project. It's 9:30-ish. Came in here at 9 o'clock, started doing the intro and stuff. Gonna get stuck in, see what we can get done in about 4 or 5 hours. All right, welcome back. Brackets. Okay, time to call that done. I'll give you a look what I've done. Let's have a look. Come on, off there. Right, here's our little bracket. And I'm really chuffed with that. That, I think you'll agree, is a far beefier solution. Oh, by the way, as you can see, I boxed those in. I'm really, really happy with that. I wanted those boxed in. I mentioned it in the last video, and I think that looks 10 times better than just the two pieces. Very, very solid and chunky looking. So they are far and away a better solution. So they're good now. Box those brackets in. When they're fitted on the bike, they'll look nice and beef. And probably when this gets them to be finally fitted, I'll use a little bit of filler and just fill in these little pinholes so it looks perfect. That bracket, as you can see, that's a far better captive nut with that big thick piece of 4mm plate than, where is it? Can't even find it now. I think I threw it in the rubbish. These things, I think you said to use these, cut them up and use them to make the tabs. Well, the principle's there, but that's 2mm and it's rubbish. This piece of 4mm is far better. And I've got a nice weld on those, a really nice captive weld. Very happy with that indeed. Sometimes it just goes really, really well. So that's good, they're all done. And all I've got to do now is let that dry before I wrestle it back onto the bike. There's nothing more I can do with it apart from fit it. And you can see it there, so I don't need to fit that. I want to let that paint dry. That's that tough black stuff, which will just give it a little bit of protection until I need to do the final paint, because I'm not going to do any more beating on that. That's it. So you've got 4 captive nuts in that, nice bracket ready to bolt onto the bike. The next thing is how to do this. Now normally I would have just drilled a hole in there. Probably in my past I would have drilled a hole in there, and where this bracket comes kind of across here, I'd have just, there's the tab, say presents itself there, I'd have just bolted straight through it and drill a hole, maybe put a washer each side. But that's not good enough, that's rubbish, it's not the correct solution, and it will be doomed to fail, because this, as you can see, is 1 and a bit, if that, sheet metal, probably even 1mm sheet metal. It's not thick enough to survive just being bolted up with a couple of washers. What'll happen is it'll crack over time, you'll end up buggering it up, and also bolting that solidly. Imagine that, bolted to the engine, the vibrations that emanate from the engine, the crank, the combustion process, and all of that right there. Can you imagine? That's going to be like a dinner bell going off the whole time. Ming, 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 ming. It's going to be ringing like a big old bell. So the solution to that is a rubber mount it, and that's what I'm working on today. Now, I'm going to use these things to mount it. You've all seen these. They go at the back of your fuel tank in here. That's what you use there. And to show you a little bit closer, this is one year. This is what they also mount the radiator on, top and bottom. And you can see, if I push that out, you get this little, there it comes, hang on. You get that little thing that lives inside. Now that's metal. And this little rubber cotton reel lives in there. It's one piece all the way through. And you kind of bend these little bits back like that out of the way, and you feed it in. Screwdriver, flip it in there. And once that's in, it lives in a big hole like that. And that presents an opportunity to fit that little tube with a plate washer on the back. I know you know all this, I'm just going over it for my sake really. And you put the bolt through there. That then presents this end of the tube here. So that's a solid metal tube. So you can bolt down onto that with maximum torque, as much as the thread will take, and you've got a really strong fixing. But this sheet metal, which is all that is, look, that's only a little bit of 1mm sheet metal there, all the way across the bottom of the radiator. It in itself is not being squeezed because it lives in this rubber cotton reel. And as you can see, that's loose. Even when you bolt that down tight, it doesn't crush the rubber. All right, we all know this, don't we? I'm teaching to suck eggs here. So basically what I'm going to do is mount this on a couple of them. So when that tab presents itself about here, the hole's going to be around here somewhere, and I'll just use one of them. But rather than put that straight into the part, that again is not good enough. I can do better than that, and if I can do better, I want to do better. So I'm going to do a 3-way reinforcement. Very quickly, it's just a case of, first of all, weld a sheet in the back. Just get a piece of sheet metal, perhaps the side off one of these, something that roughly matches that contour. Put it on the back in there, and then spot weld it on the inside. So tack, tack, tack. So you've got a solid, so that's double thickness straight away. Then bore the hole in it. Once that's done, I'm going to cut one of these out. Now you can see from the fact that these, first of all, that's 2mm thick. That metal is roughly 1.5 to 2 mil, so it's a lot thicker in the first place. That has got this little lip on it that's been pressed in. So I'm going to cut that out completely like a washer. And then I'm going to weld that washer finally into place to make a triple reinforcement. So all you'll see is that little washer there, and then one of them, well, hang on, and then that will be on the outside. So you'll have this kind of, well, that kind of proudness there sticking out, like that if you wish, and a nice bolt on top. And I can put like a brass bolt in there or anything, whatever, but it'll mean that this belly pan is then rubber mounted, because no matter how hard I bolt that in to that beefy bracket, the whole thing's bouncing on this rubber here. And that is what I need to do to reduce or remove the dinner bell ringing which is going to emanate from it if I don't do something like that. So both sides, this is going to be rubber mounted. That's the plan, but it's quite a long project. It's equally as long as today. It's 1:30 now. I've been in the garage 4 hours, and it's just 4 hours just to do them. So let's put you back up here. Alright, so like I said, I think I've said this loads of times on the project, break it into bite-sized pieces. All projects on the bike as a whole should be a series of mini projects. So this has been 4 hours today. I ration myself to 4 hours because it's not that that's my attention span. I wish. It's a little bit different. It's that I think your enthusiasm span drops off after about 4 hours. You know, you start to rush, you start to see the progress that you're making. And as you're pacing yourself along, you see progress and you start thinking, yeah, I can do this, and you start galloping. And then before you know it, you're rushing at tasks and you're doing them quick because you're making this progress, and that in itself is motivational. It's great if you're on a deadline and a time schedule and you know the boss is whooping your ass to try and get you to finish something, fine. But when you're doing a project and you want a really good result, that's the wrong thing. So what I tend to do is 4 to 5 hours, that's it, I cut it down. Also, it's now, like I said, 1:30. I want to get to the office, get this entered in and get it ready and get it up, because I'm doing 2 videos this weekend. At the time you're watching this is Saturday. I'm going to do another simple skills video for you tomorrow, Sunday, because I've had a fault with the Harley Davidson. The Fat Boy has given me an electrical fault. I've diagnosed it. I want to show you how to diagnose that fault yourself. It isn't something that's uncommon, so it's nice if you can see it. If anything happens in this garage that we have cause to do, we absolutely always try and share it. So tomorrow, Sunday, at the time of you watching this, there will be a simple skills on how to fix what it was that went wrong. Very quick fix, won't take long, be a short video. But this one, 4 hours, this is going to be up. Brackets done, happy with that for now. And the next sort of 4.5, 5 hours will be triple reinforcing that belly pan so that the sheet metal doesn't crack. Putting in those little swage holes and then the rubber bung mounts, and then I can move to the rear mounts. So far, this is 6 videos just on the belly pan, and I'm reckoning a dozen. I reckon 12 videos on the belly pan, so we're about halfway on the belly pan. And you know what comes after that, don't you? Awesome. I'm saying that, I might be talking out of my backside, it might be another 25, I don't know. I don't make a plan, I just sort of hope that I'm going to get it done, and I hope I don't lose your attention. I'm waffling now, I know that, so I'm going to call that done. Leave you with a wall of friends. Thank you again for your incredible motivation. Without it, I wouldn't do it as meticulously as this. Things like boxing in the top of that bracket, probably wouldn't have bothered, I'd just bolted it on. In fact, I probably wouldn't have done half the things I've done on this build, and I think I've said this in the comments. It's you that's driving this with your encouragement. It motivates me to be more detailed, to take more time, and to show you things that you can do. One final thing I want to say. In a dim and distant future, I want to build a frame, a full-on, complete frame from scratch. I have the Honda VFR in the corner, which is a clear title. It's a straight bike and there's no crash register on it or anything, so I've got a logbook, I've got a frame, I've got all manner of different things. And when it comes to building a frame, the welding and the notching, so earlier on today, cutting out that little curve, cutting those little curves and mounting these tabs on this, getting that absolutely perfect notch around there and then welding it round. That's how you do frames. That's how you have to do frames. You can't have a roughly fitting notch and just hope to fill it in with me. So I'm practicing for my own skills as I go through this build, and I'm also trying to show a little bit to you as well, but that's how you have to do it. So these tabs were some of the first kind of practice jobs for the frame build that I'm going to do in the future, because welding tabs onto a frame are what you need to hold the engine in, which is quite handy when you want it to ride up the road and not kill your ass. Okay, I'll leave it there. Take your ride safe. See you next time.